For just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Here's George.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 8687.
All right, folks, welcome back. We are still live, but we did have a technical issue with the broadcast system, so we actually had to reset the link. So if you're listening to us on Spreaker, you might need to find the tweet that I just sent out. Also, it's out on Google Plus as well as Facebook. So if you were listening to us on Spreaker, you may want to see if you can find the new link, or if anybody you know was listening to us on Spreaker, you may want to tell them that, hey, there was an issue, so they had to reset. If you're listening to us on the chat room or on the actual Spreaker player, it looks like it actually reset on its own as soon as we changed links because it dropped to the live one. So I think we're good. All right, so Dan and I, well, actually mostly Dan, because I was chasing down the gremlins. Why does it seem like that's half of what I do when I'm on a show anymore? It's chase gremlins. Anyway, so we were talking about Trump and his Twitter account. So I want to say something that has been bugging me for days about Trump and his Twitter account. Look, I get it. The dude shouldn't say half the things that he says on Twitter. But why is it so surprising that a guy who's made his career, I mean, you know, other than the money that Daddy gave him that he, you know, may or may not have used wisely to build a small business over here and gone bankrupt half a dozen times and a few million other things that have happened. But the guy has basically made a career after learning how to be a dick on national TV as a reality TV star. And people are shocked and amazed that as president, he can't seem to turn off the dick. I'm not confused. This is one reason why I didn't vote for him, because I knew what we were going to get. The scary thing is when people like Kellyanne Conway say, well, people knew what they were getting when they voted for Trump. Well, they damn well should have. That's why I didn't vote for him. But he is president now. And while we're busy fighting with each other about whether he should have tweeted this or he shouldn't have tweeted that, which is irrelevant because, first of all, there are a couple of washed-up TV people that were having an affair with each other for years, most likely, before she left her husband, and now they're engaged. So does it really matter? Because let's face it, it doesn't matter. What does matter is while we're arguing over what Trump should have tweeted or shouldn't have tweeted or how horrible of a thing that he said when everybody else says worse, I mean, let's face it, we're upset because Trump said something about the fact that she was bleeding from her face when she met him in a facelift, or at a hotel after supposedly having a facelift. But at the same time, Kellyanne Conway, while one of the producers from CNN was off camera, was talking about how she looked like she'd been hit in the face with a shovel. This is just how people are anymore. It just sucks when they get caught on camera. That's part of the problem. We don't know how to be nice to each other anymore. We don't know how to behave civilly. Proof and case in point is listen to the first part of the show. When I tried to invite somebody on to explain that his whole reason that his My Little Pony panties were in a bunch was because he didn't understand what the word on a GIF meant, not because somebody was actually threatening to kill him. And all they did was scream and yell and cuss and tell me that I needed to apologize because somebody was threatening to kill him. No, you need to apologize because you don't understand life. Apparently you don't understand Twitter, and you probably shouldn't be here.
And he probably shouldn't be calling himself an anon.
Well, I was thinking he should probably maybe get away with calling himself an anus, but, not an anon. Just saying.
No, that's the whole thing now. It's the whole words hurt thing. I mean, I've actually had death threats. You have. We know Sam has.
Oh, hang on.
She posts a Twitter-approved GIF, and he thinks it's a death threat.
I want to clarify something for people that I haven't shared this with yet. I have not only had death threats. In my previous profession, I was shot. Literally shot. So don't come to me about, oh my God, somebody used the hashtag dead GIF. Now, actually, just to keep the listeners at home up to speed, if you're not following along on Twitter, one of my favorite people on Twitter, the Road Beer, has just basically put his whole argument on the phone to shame because he actually screen capped the tweet from Fu, who said replying to, and the person that she was replying to is first, and guess who it's not? It's not Kelvin.
It's not him.
It's the other person.
That's exactly what I told him. And he told me I was a liar.
No, it just means that he doesn't understand how Twitter works, which is exactly what the Road Beer just said, but I won't read the rest of it. But you can if you want. I'm sure you can go find him on Twitter. But yeah, anyway, so enough about that guy, though, because honestly, I was really just trying to put this to bed, and the jury's in. He's a moron, and there's not ever anything we're going to be able to do to dissuade him from his delusions, because I guess he thinks he's important enough that perfect strangers want to threaten to kill him. I mean, what do you think you are, like some sort of secret agent or something? I mean, I put a sheriff in jail because he was corrupt. Yeah, I bet you did. You barely sound like you can string 3 sentences together. I seriously doubt you had anything to do with putting a sheriff in jail. Just saying. Anyway, so, but here's the thing. While I've been distracted by this delusional moron, and while everybody else has been distracted by what Trump's been tweeting, we're not focusing on what really matters. The thing that annoys me about some of this is because this was a fairly decent week for Trump. He's actually had some good gains. And he threw it all away because he decided to be himself on Twitter. I get it. You think people wanted you to be you. That's why you got elected. You got elected because everybody was pissed. Let's just be real for a second. I know you don't listen to the show because I know people that know you, and you can't stand me because you actually have listened to this show before, and you don't like the fact that I don't kiss your rear end. So, just in case you do have people that still listen, because I know that you have before, let's just be clear. You didn't win because of you. You won because everybody was sick of Obama's crap. Because the Democratic narrative was finally starting to unravel, because they were starting to see all the crazy crap that was going on behind the scenes. You didn't win because of you. You won because they floated the worst possible candidate, which was why they wanted it to be you. And I have to say this, I'm not 100% convinced that you ever wanted to be president, because now that you're here, it's like you're trying to screw it up on purpose. Everything that you do calls attention away from the positives that you are gaining in this country. Our economy is better than it was a few months ago. The numbers are in. Things are on an upswing. Nobody's talking about that, though, because we're too busy focusing on you and your gifts. Kate's Law just passed the House. It's on the way to the Senate. Nobody's talking about that, though, because we're too busy talking about you and your gifts. The Supreme Court shut down the Ninth Circuit in a unanimous decision, which I can't remember the last time the Supreme Court unanimously decided anything and just said, you know what, no, this is going to have to at least be partially upheld for now, and we'll take another look at it in October, which doesn't really make any sense to me anyway, because by the time they take a look at it, it was only supposed to be like a 90-day ban anyway. This is July, so I mean, it's going to be over by the time they take a look at it. At least it's supposed to be, unless they're afraid that it's going to stick around. But nobody's talking about that either, because we're too busy focusing on what you tweeted and what Joe said, and everybody's like, oh my God, Joe's such a hero. He gave up a day of his vacation to come back and fight President Trump. No, Joe's a moron. I know people that know his co-host. According to them, she's as dumb as a box of rocks. I didn't say that. They did. I don't know her. I don't care. I've never dealt with her. I could give two. What's a word I can say on the radio without getting in trouble? Because I've already cussed once. But anyway, I'm ranting enough. I've either lost Dan or I'm about to hear.
That's okay, because our phone guest cussed enough for both of us for the next freaking 6 months.
This is true, which is another reason why I'm trying to not do it. Pardon me.
Once you edit down the top of the show, there's not going to be much left at the top of the show.
Actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to mark explicit and leave it, because he wanted to make an ass of himself, so I'm going to let him. Because it's on its own separate thread now, so I could just mark that whole thing explicit and go on.
Yeah, well, back to what you just said, you're 100% right, and I kind of touched on it a little bit when we were having our technical problems that you were taking care of. Is yes, it's like everything that happens totally distracts from what the positives are for Trump and just real news. You can't find real news. You've got to search for real news now, because unless you watch somebody like Brett Baer, all you're going to get is either pros or cons or both of what Trump said or did, or what somebody said or did about Trump, and there's just no real news. It gets worse. I was hoping it would improve. I did a show on my show. I did a show on the mainstream media, and I had brought up some points where I was actually kind of encouraged by some of the moves the MSNBC was making. I'm not anymore, because it was all just smoke and mirrors. I really believe that. There's nobody, like I said, you got one side, it's all anti-Trump, other side, it's all Trump is a god. And that is mainstream media.
And we're in the middle going, y'all are all morons. I just want the country to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. What can we do other than just not watch them? But you have the Trump base that is just going to just give everything they can and every bit of viewership to Fox, and then you have the resistance, and everything, as far as they're concerned, everything that CNN or MSNBC does is 100% factual, and Trump is the worst criminal ever on the face of the earth. Yet, they supported Hillary, who is probably one of the most despicable criminals on the face of the earth. But they say, no, she isn't. She hasn't been convicted of anything. Oh, really? So didn't do it? She isn't? She's just a great person? How many different investigations into things the Clintons have done? How many? Over the last 40 years. when you're investigated that much and that often, you done something wrong. Just because you have the money and lawyers to get you past it doesn't mean you didn't do it.
No, I mean, but that's that again is part of the problem, though. I mean, because we really are getting to the point where we have two completely different classes in society. I mean, we really do have people that basically think they can get away with anything because they have money. Hillary Clinton happens to be among them. So many other people are also in that same position, where they really think that they can just get away with it because they have money and because they can buy the best attorneys. And sadly, sometimes they're right. That's the scary thing. I mean, if you really look at some of the things that she has gotten away with, I mean, let's be real for just a second. Look at everything that, I mean, we're talking about not even just Hillary Clinton. I mean, we're talking about the former head of the Department of Justice. What the hell is her name? I cannot think of her name right now. The one that was, wasn't she the one that was meeting with Bill Clinton on a tarmac?
Lynch.
Yeah.
Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch. I mean, she's actually finally at least being looked at. She's being called onto the carpet for some of the things that she said and done, Loretta Lynch. But, I mean, it's just insane. I mean, we literally are watching our country tear itself apart, all because everybody's, again, picking up their banner, their respective color on it, and marching off to war. And this time, I don't even think half of them know what they're fighting for, other than the fact that, well, he's my guy and I support him 1,000%, or he's not my guy and I hate him because I wanted Hillary. That's really what this boils down to this time. I mean, I understood the divisions with Obama. I really did, because there were clear battle lines drawn. There's nothing to be fighting over with Trump because he's not a conservative. He's proven it time and time again. So all of these people that are of conservative leanings that are like, well, I mean, I get it. He's president. I'm not the root for the iceberg type, but I'm also not the not going to call it the way I see it type. Now, the reason I bring this up, roundabout way to get here, but there was a time not too long ago that Donald Trump bashed President Obama over and over again for continuing to campaign almost continuously after he got elected. The right actually bashed President Obama because a little bit over a year into his campaign, he held one of his first fundraisers for both the DNC and his eventual run in 2012. Although, just a few days ago, less than, 130 days? What are we, about 130, 140 days in now? I'm kind of doing the math in my head. Donald Trump just held a fundraiser for the RNC and for his eventual run in 2020. Now, as if that wasn't bad enough, guess where he held the fundraiser?
In his own hotel.
Now, you tell me, if Barack Obama had had a hotel with his name on it and had started fundraising for his next campaign within a few months of being elected the first time, what would the right be doing right now if this was 2008 and the rules were reversed?
Going nuts.
And yet, now that it's Trump, the right hasn't said a word about this. Not even the people that are attacking him for the way that he's tweeting have mentioned the fact that he just held a $35,000 a head fundraiser for the RNC, and he's only been in office since January. Since January! This isn't even, it's not even July yet, folks. He hasn't even been in office 6 months. You guys on the right came unhinged because Obama started campaigning a year in. And I get it, because I was one of those ones that was upset. I'm like, look, you've only had the job for a year. You have 3 more years to go. Why are you campaigning now? Get your butt back in D.C. and do your job. Quit partying with Jay-Z. Quit doing all these other things that you're doing, and do what you got sent to the White House to do. I didn't vote for you, but you still have a job. And that's what I'm screaming right now. I didn't vote for you, but you still have a job. Quit going to Mar-a-Lago every damn weekend. Quit fundraising 6 months into your campaign and do your job. Why is this so hard?
I don't know why it's so hard. It's because, and it to be honest with you, he's not a politician. And I don't think it's 100% him. It's the RNC. You know, I mean, all they care about, anybody in Washington, not anybody, not everybody. There are a few on both sides. There are a few that are there because they want to be and they believe in what they're doing. But for the most part, they just want to keep their jobs. They just want to keep their job. It's a job. It's instantly, we've got to make sure we keep our jobs. After every election, they all go back into, how do I keep my job mode? And I'll bring it right back to term limits, the end. You know, and I'm not just poking at Trump, obviously, when I say term limits. I mean, some of these career politicians just need to go because it's all they know. So they got to keep it.
See,
they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about their constituents. They care about keeping their jobs. They're going to play this game here for a little bit, then you'll play this game here for a little bit, campaign in the middle, and make sure it's all smooth over here and it's all smooth over here, so I keep my job. That's all they care about. That's it. They do not care about any. They'll say they care about things. They'll say they care about you. I'm here for you. No, you're not. You're there for you, not me. And that's the way it is. That's where we are.
Well,
kick them out.
Let me tell you my only problem with term limits, living in a state that actually has term limits. It has blown up in our faces. Because the legislation, now it may not be the same in D.C., I'm not sure, but the legislation process here in Oklahoma is so complex and so convoluted that by the time people actually figure out how to do their jobs, they hit a term limit. The other problem with term limits, and this is what I've noticed time and time again, when you get close to the point where your term's up, you don't give a crap what happens anymore because you're about to be out the door. So you start voting for whoever's going to line your pockets. And it's happened here time and time again. There was a guy who was getting dangerously close to term limits who's actually been arrested for all kinds of crap here in my state. So the concept of term limits, while I agree with it on its face, and it looks great on paper, in practice, it's kind of like communism. On paper, communism looks great because everybody does their fair share, everybody pulls their equal weight, everybody gets an equal share, and then you realize it doesn't work that way. So having a state that now has term limits and seeing how badly they have worked, I'm not sure that would fix it. Because the biggest problem isn't the term limits. The biggest problem is the fact that we really don't have... I mean, an interesting thing happens when you become... At least in Oklahoma, and I don't know if it's the same in D.C. or not, but an interesting thing happens when you get elected to the state house in Oklahoma. You get the term honorable. It's immediately doled upon you the day that you are elected. And I don't think it should be. That should be something that you should have to earn. And I've heard other people refer to congressmen in D.C. as the honorable blah, blah, blah. I don't... That's, I mean, I'm really having a princess, what was that movie, The Princess Bride moment, where the guy's like, you keep using this word, and I do not think this word means what you think it does. Because everybody throws it around, and not a single one of them has honor. Because I mean, save about 5 or 6 that I can think of off the top of my head that are in D.C. right now, that are there for the right reasons and actually standing up and trying to fight. Everybody else seems like they're there to line their pockets and hold on to their jobs. What we need are people of strong moral character to stand up and say, I don't care if I'm only going to be here for one term, as long as I get done for my constituents what I told them I was going to get done while I was here, or do my best to get it done, then wherever the chips fall or where they fall. Those are the type of people that we need in Washington. We need people that are going to stand up and do what they told their constituents they were going to do. That's why I'm so pissed off at everybody but about 5 people in D.C. right now, because these nozzles ran on repeal for the last 7 years. They've had 7 years to get ready for it. 7 years. They put a bill through the House and over 60 times to repeal Obamacare. It made it through the Senate even a handful of times. It made it to Obama's desk at least twice that I can think of off the top of my head. Of course, he never signed it. But why haven't they put that same bill on Trump's desk? Because they know he won't sign it either, and they can't go up against someone in their own party. That's the problem. They can stall him. They can try to convince him. They can try to cajole him. They can try to persuade him. But at the end of the day, they cannot put something on his desk that makes him look like an idiot. Because they know if they do, then they lose the White House in 2020. And nobody wants to do that. This is exactly what those of us who didn't want Trump in office have been trying to say all along. We were going to get everybody boxed into a corner because eventually they're going to have to go along with the guy or they're going to risk losing everything, and they're not willing to do that. There are not enough of them in D.C. that will stand up for what they believe in, even if it means they have to go home at the end of the day.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's okay. I'll back up on what I said. What do we need to do? And I know you and I have been, over the last year or two, we've both been involved in a couple of different things. And what do we do to educate the people so that the people instill term limits on their own? Instead of just voting for the guy because he's the guy.
Well, I mean,
what do we do to get people to support and push for people like McConnell to get primaried with a good candidate that can beat him? What do we do? What do we do to get people, the people that sit back and complain, yet they don't pay attention and they don't really do anything about it? How do we get these people to stand up and do what it takes so that we control term limits instead of there actually being term limits? So that we can say, your butt is getting primaried in 2018, and we are going to work to make sure that somebody is going to be there that can beat you and that can beat the Democrat that would have been running against you. What do we do? How do we do this? How do we get people to wake up and realize that it's not just about President of the United States? So many people in this country just think, oh, well, as long as we get our guy in, everything's great. These are very small part of things, and people don't realize it. Not only in the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, but when it gets down to your state house and your state Congress and your state Senate, it's all related. It really is, and people don't, people are 4-year voters, and it's all about the president, and then I'm just going to vote down frickin' party line on everything else. They don't pay attention. They don't pay attention to primaries. People that don't vote in the primaries, but then they go vote in the presidential election. That's the way to make term limits work, is the people determine the term limits.
But here's my question with that, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. My question with it is, how in the world do we get people to understand that they should be voting for someone else? Because this is part of what has never made any sense to me, and this is why I bring this up. Because if you look at the numbers, Congress for the last 20 years has had like the lowest approval ratings ever. But if you ask people how the people in their own state are doing, oh my God, my guy's great, he's awesome. Really, he's part of the same group that you just said sucks, but somehow your guy's the only one doing it right. So everybody that says Congress sucks also thinks that their guy deserves to be right back in the fold because he's doing everything that he's supposed to do. So I honestly don't know how to fix it. That's part of the problem.
That's because their guy on some bill that got passed got something tagged onto the freaking bill that got, some kind of whatever funding for something for their state. And they're like, see, he got this for my state. Well, stop worrying about your state and look at what's going on the national level as your state now getting that funding for that just grew the federal government a little bit more. Stop hoping your guy gets more for your state and start thinking about the fact that when he's getting more for your state, it's taking more from your tax dollars and everybody else's tax dollars in the country. That's what they look at. They look at, what's he going to get for us? People need to stop thinking about that. Think locally for what you want for you, and think federally for what you want for the country. That's where the problem comes in. All of this spending on, you hear about it all the time. Well, this congressman put in, a tag along on this bill, and he got, money for our state to study, the effect of pig farts on the environment. Well, I don't care about the effects of, and pig farming's big here in my state. I'll say I don't care about the effects of pig farts on the environment here in my state. I don't want federal money for that. I don't want my tax dollars going to that. But people think, oh, well, we got those tax dollars to our state. That's the problem. They put their guy in Congress to bring money back to their state for stupid stuff just because it's bringing money back to their state. That's how they look at stuff like that. Because that hits your local paper.
But yeah, no, and I understand that's what happens, but that's my point. Because from my own personal experiences, I don't think the term limits are going to work, only because these people are really, really spiteful. So we know term limits probably won't work, only because what I've seen in my state, and I'm pretty sure if it's happening here, one of the reddest states in the country, it's going to be even worse in a place like D.C. So my question is, because you'd asked, how do we get people to vote people out at the local level? If you ask people, hey, what do you think of your congressmen and your senators? First of all, we're lucky if anybody even knows their names. Second of all, if they know their names, they're like, oh yeah, they're great. Well, what about the rest of Congress? Oh yeah, that Pelosi bitch, she crazy. So yeah, Congress sucks. It's always the ones that aren't in your area that are the problem, and that's I don't know how to fix that. I will tell you one of the ways that I know we could fix some of it, and people are gonna hate me for saying this, but way back in the day, Congress was the only political body other than president that the people got to put a vote in for, because the states got to appoint their senators. One of the ways to fix this mess is to get it back to that, because at least then there's more checks and balances, because right now it's all a popularity contest, and they all know it. If I get enough money back in the hands of the people of my state, I can do whatever I want, and they're going to put me back in here forever, and nobody can do anything about it. Look at John McCain. The dude flat out lied to people in Arizona. Flat out lied to them, and they keep sending him back. Vote after he lost the election. He got up for the midterm election again. Vote for me and I'll finish the fence. Oh, you voted for me? Great. Where's the fence? What fence? What are you talking about? I never said anything about a fence. So I literally really don't know how to fix this mess.
Well, and you touched on something that you said back there too, about people not even knowing the name of their congressman or senator, and to them it's just, yeah, I voted for the guy with the D next to his name, or I voted for the guy with the R next to his name, because that's who I'm going to vote for. These are the people that don't vote in the primaries, because why do I need to vote in the primaries? What's that for? Well, because if you paid attention, a Republican that is better than the Republican you voted for was up against him. But you just let him slide, and you don't vote in the primaries because you don't pay attention, because you just vote for the guy in the general election that has the R next to his name. It doesn't take a lot of research. It really doesn't. All you literally have to do is read a platform statement from each. If everybody just at least read a platform statement from each candidate, that would help them pick and choose. People don't even vote in the primaries. So it's, I don't know. Are we doomed, Rick?
I've sadly been asking myself that question quite a bit lately, and I really don't know the answer. What I do know is I'm not giving up until we either are doomed or until we fix it. So back to the question, and then we probably should start winding up because we've run a little long, of how we fix this. The only way that I can honestly think of at this point is a complete overhaul in multiple ways. First thing, again, is I think the senators need to go back to being appointed by their states, because at least then there's at least some people that understand how the government should work with a finger on the lever somewhere. Also, I think we need to get the federal government out of education as much as possible, because we have a cookie cutter approach to education. Proof positive is that does not work. What I don't understand about education, and I really don't, because we have all of these tests and all these psychological profiles that show us that people learn in different ways, and we don't use any of that information. There are ways that we could set up schools to make sure that people are learning everything to the best of their ability, no matter what their abilities are, no matter what their learning styles are, no matter what their learning curves are. We could be fixing this mess, and we could be doing it in a way to make happy, healthy, productive citizens who have lives and have jobs that they enjoy, but instead we're doing nothing but turning out people through indoctrination mills. Education is not about education anymore. Education used to be about critical thinking. It's not about that anymore. It's about rote memorization, because all of the federal funding is tied to test scores. So the teachers teach to make sure that kids can pass test scores. Who cares if they remember it tomorrow, as long as they can pass the test today? Because that's how we get our money.
Then we get our federal funding. We get our federal funding as soon as we pass the test.
But yeah, so
I know. It's the reason. It's the reason why I moved where I am, because the school system I was in, that my kids were in, literally 80% of the school year was spent learning what they needed to have for testing. It wasn't learning. It was just memorizing what they needed to pass government testing. And I was literally dismayed. I mean, and I'll say the school system, Prince George's County, Maryland schools, where they spend upwards of $12,000 per student to learn government-mandated testing material.
Wait, they did what? I missed something. You broke up, at least on my end.
Where they spend $12,000 a year per student so that they can learn government-mandated testing material. $12,000 a year per student.
Nice.
Well, that's why I paid $6,000 a year in property tax on my house.
Probably. But the government knows.
No, not probably.
But the government knows better to do what with your money, what to do than you do. So yeah, there's always that.
Right.
So I want to touch on one more thing, and then we need to get out of here because we're talking about government and the insanity of government. Have you been keeping up with anything about this story going on across the pond?
Yes.
And people wonder. And people wonder why I don't want socialized medicine in this country.
Literally had to get permission to spend more time with their dying child. It's a heartbreaking story. Totally heartbreaking. Parents are not allowed to have any say in the life of their child. That's what's happening over there. And that's what everybody seems to want here. They want the government to be able to tell you how you're going to live your life, how you're going to die, how your children are going to live their lives, and how they're going to die.
Well, I mean, just logically speaking for a moment, is it surprising to you that we have people that think that way when we have celebrities trying to tell us that the president and the first lady are like our parents and we should always listen to them? You know, it's interesting, though, because think about that for a second. From 2008 to 2016, we had folks like Chris Rock standing up and saying that it was immoral, unethical, and wrong to stand up to the president because the president is like our parent. Our president and the first lady are like our parents, and we should always listen to them. But now that there's a crazy white boy in the White House, all that done gone out the window.
Yep. We have become, and it happens on the right too. We have become a hypocritical society. I mean, that's what we've become. That's the way it is. I mean, you and I, and people that think like us. I mean, we got through from 2008 to 2016. We got through. I never once did anything or said anything, and don't know anybody that did, along the lines of the resistance. You know what? The man was elected. Just sit back, chill out. The world's not going to freaking end. It's not. It's not going to freaking end. It didn't end for us. It didn't end. It got bad, but it didn't end between 2008 and 2016. Just sit back and chill out. There's plenty of people like you and me. We hold his feet to the fire. Most rational, sane people hold all presidents' feet to the fire, whether the president is from their party or not. Just sit back and chill. Stop being unhinged. Or maybe keep being unhinged, because you know what? The way you're acting is exactly why he's the president, and you're just going to get him elected again. And at this point, if it's not going to be Hillary, I mean, who's it going to be? I mean, people have even floated out there, Oprah. Really? Oprah for president? Come on now.
What's she going to do? Give everybody?
What's
she going to do? Give everybody a free card to vote for her?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. She's going to give everybody a free car. Everybody gets a free car.
Everybody that goes to the polls gets a free car.
Yep. You get a free car, and you get a free car, and you get a free car. I mean, come on. The unhinging, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And it's not just, Democrats. There's plenty of quote-unquote conservatives that are involved in this whole resistance thing. It's just, you know what? Your life isn't going to end. Sit back and rationally hold his feet to the fire. That's all you have to do. Stop making me defend him. I don't want to defend him. I want to hold his feet to the fire when he does something wrong, and I want to say, hey, good job when he does something right. I don't want to have to sit back and defend him. But at this point I will, because the unhinging on the left is insane. And it's not everybody on the left, but it's a huge chunk. It's a huge chunk of like you said, it's a huge chunk of people that said, you need to treat Barack and Michelle like they're your parents. They're good people. And Trump he can be, I'll even say it, he can be vile. I don't think he's a bad person. I really don't. I mean, I think he's full of himself, sure. I don't think he's a bad person. I think he loves the United States. I think he loves this country. I do. I don't agree with a lot of what he does, and I'll let people know I don't. When it boils right down to it, we're all Americans. Whether we're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a libertarian, Green Party, Federalist, whatever you are, we're all Americans. And the divide is so insane right now. It's almost disheartening.
No, I mean,
and it causes people like you and me who try to be rational to, like we've said it before, in a single day, I could be called a Nazi, and I could be called a race traitor, or a liberal, or whatever, in the same day. I'm not. I'm just rational. Everybody is being irrational on both sides. The Trump base is irrational. The anti-Trump base is irrational. Just sit back and chill out, all of you. That's my 2 cents. It's getting old.
No, it really is. All right, so because we actually started the show a little bit late and then we shut down and restarted because of a technical issue, we are at this point at about an hour and a half in. So do you want to start wrapping or do you want to just finish things off for another 30? It's up to you.
I mean, I'm good for another 30 if you are. I mean, at this point, I just, if we're good for another 30, I'd actually have something I'd like to add to what I just said.
Sure. No, the reason I was asking is because, well, hang on. The reason I was asking is because, is it a quick point? Because if we're going to stay on for another 30, I need to run a quick break, or we can take the break and I can let you come back.
Well, actually, it's a quick point. It's a quick point that I just wanted to add to this.
Sure.
And I'm good if we cut this off now. I just, you were involved with this today, and it's something, and I'm going to bring a family member into this. Now, I am on the right. You made a little joke about that today. I am on the right. Okay? I hold Trump's feet to the fire. You know that. Everybody I know knows that. Everybody I know knows that I'm not a big Trump fan at all. I'm on the right. I hold him his feet to the fire. My own brother today on social media basically called me a partisan because of my whole little thing with Trump and kind of giving Joe Scarborough crap. Which, when I did it, I said, Trump needs to put his phone down, and The Morning Joe is a childish, stupid show. And my brother called me a partisan. I'm not a partisan. I listen to both sides. I listen to all sides. I have my side that I lean to, and the side that I believe in, most of what it stands for. People that call me a partisan on the left, I never hear them say anything about the left. They accuse me of being a partisan, and they are partisan. So, what's the point of being in the middle? I mean, I sit here some days and I really go, you know what? It sure would be easy just to go in total Trump. it would be so easy right now. I won't do it, but boy, would it be easy. I could just go in and post stuff and hashtag MAGA, and everything's great.
I know, right?
Life
would be so much simpler.
I'm not a partisan. I listen to everything. That makes me not partisan, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Maybe in my brother's head, just because I don't come over to his side, it makes me a partisan. Does that make any sense? It really bugs me. Usually, me and my brother, and I, we spar pretty good on politics. But when he called me a partisan, that kind of pissed me off a little bit.
No, and I get it, and I honestly kind of feel like I owe your brother an apology because I popped off with one of my quirky pet names for people that annoy me before I realized it was your brother.
Yes, you called him Skippy.
Was it Skippy or Sparky? I got him. I kind of use them.
It was Sparky. That's right. It was Sparky.
I was gonna say Sparky's usually the more. Well, no, actually, Sparky's the one I usually use when I'm more annoyed. But maybe that's only because I've been dealing with this other idiot for 2.5 days, who is still tweeting me, by the way, and just posted me the Merriam-Webster definition of the word "dead." So I reposted the Urban.
God, what an idiot!
So I reposted the Urban Dictionary definition of the word "dead" and highlighted the top definition and told him to. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I said. Anyway, so,
yeah, I just I say we wrap it, but I wanted to add that. I don't know. I think my brother listens occasionally. Maybe he's listening now, and I'll get a text from him in a little bit.
Probably, but, if he's anything like that.
And for the people out there that do know who my brother is on Twitter and on Facebook, most of them know, and I'll reiterate, he's a really cool guy. He really is. He one of the rare occasions where we spar politically, and he really kind of pissed me off.
And actually, I lied. I thought we were not running as long as we were, so we're about 8 minutes away from another full hour anyway, so we've already really pretty much done an hour and a half. So anyway, on that note, why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me and not being verbally assaulted by morons who think a GIF is a death threat?
You can find me on Twitter at MadFeist, and it's Feist spelled wrong. It's F-I-E-S-T. And you can find me on Facebook. I am Daniel Wright is my private page, and Dan Wright is my professional page. And you can find the Dan Wright page just by looking for the silly little cartoon character of me. People always go, well, I can't find it. Well, you can't search it by the @ either. So you just kind of have to look for it and look for the cartoon Abby of me.
Actually,
wearing my glasses.
It's named after the show page is named after your show title, isn't it? So isn't it?
No, it's named after me.
Oh.
It's my professional page. It's not really a show page because I do 2 shows.
Okay, well, no, I couldn't remember exactly how it was named. So, there's probably a way that we could fix that because I know you can change that stuff before you get to a certain number of followers because they'll let you change it kind of unlimited until you get to I think it's 200 or more followers. So we can probably figure out how to fix that. I actually keep forgetting that I'm listed as an admin on that page, so I'll need to go take a look at it and see if we can figure out a way to make it easier.
Yeah, go take a look at it. You're better at Facebook than I am. I'm kind of a Facebook noob for the most part. Like I'm now getting all of my your 1-year friend anniversaries. I haven't been on. I was on Facebook years ago, and I just got back on Facebook a year and a half ago. So I'm pretty much a noob, and I've never had a professional page. And to let everybody know, too, that my Wednesday show is kind of on hiatus right now. I have a very crazy personal life going on right now. And I was at the point where it was like every other week I had something come up, either work-wise or personally, and having to scramble and figure out what to drop or find somebody to fill in for me. And I'm coming back. I'm going to bring the show back, but I need to get settled first. So it's going to be a few weeks. My show is on the shelf.
I don't like it when your show's on the shelf. No, I'm just playing. Is that kind of like Elf on the Shelf? That's not going to become like a seasonal thing, is it? It's not going to be like, oh, Dan's got his show back on the shelf again. No, I'm just playing. All right.
No, it's just a lot of personal stuff going on right now, and it's interfering with.
No, I get it.
My personal life is interfering with my personal life.
No, I get it, because honestly, when we had started talking about you doing a show, you had assumed a lot of things were going to move a lot faster than they did, and then the things that you were expecting to pick up and be done quicker kind of slowed down, and then work got busier. So no, I mean, I get it. I mean, hell, half the time I'm like, some days I'm surprised I do as much radio as I do, because it seems like I am constantly doing something. I actually wound up.
I don't know how you do it.
It's called There'll Be Plenty of Time to Sleep When I'm Dead, because that's pretty much what I'm doing, is giving up sleep. But anyway.
Well, where can everybody find you, Rick?
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. So on that note, since we are wrapping up, if you want to, and you want to follow along on Twitter, although I do encourage you or caution you, because right now we are being stalked by an insane Twitter troll who thinks that a GIF is a death threat. But you can follow along at AOTR_host. I guess that's the sad part of actually getting big enough where people are starting to notice. Why is it we always attract the crazy people? The same thing happened at the last station I was working on. We got big enough where we attracted a crazy, and then eventually it just... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so AOTR_host on Twitter. You can also shoot me an email at rick@klrnradio.com. Hey, Thomas, that's for you, by the way. If you want to try to talk about this again and actually talk like a human being, you can always shoot me an email. I've tried it over the phone because I really thought you'd act more like a human being on the phone. That didn't work. So let's see if we can hash this out and try to make you understand exactly how much of an ass you look like right now. But on that note, folks, we are officially out of time. Now, even though we didn't get to touch on it very much because we had an unexpected phone call, because I decided to basically give this guy a chance to try to understand exactly what was going on. Also, because of everything else we've talked about, it is, again, about to be 4th of July, so since we won't be doing the show again before the 4th of July, I want to say I do hope everybody has a great, safe, happy, healthy 4th of July. And remember what it is that we're celebrating, because it isn't just about hot dogs and hamburgers and fireworks. This is a day that should be celebrated and revered, because it's the day that our forefathers decided that they had had enough and they wanted liberty above all else. Sadly, their ancestors seem to want healthcare above all else. I'm not one of those folks. Or out, folks. Have a great night. We'll see you after the 4th. Be safe.